będzie o stokach. Nie wiem, czy o tym, jak na nich zarabiać, ale na pewno jak tworzyć, opowiedzą i twórcy, i odbiorcy. Jak sądzę, Adam Strzelecki i Maciej Janicki. Znacie panów świetnie. No to teraz konkrety, kwoty, sposoby, pomysły. Ruszamy. Dziękuję i zapraszam.
Dzień dobry, witamy. Jestem Adam Strzelecki. Tutaj po mojej prawej stronie Maciej Janicki. Jestem osobą, która została wciągnięta do świata stoków przez Adama, więc on jest jakby dłużej działa parę lat w tej branży, ale już parę lat ja również działam, więc myślę, że możemy wam parę ciekawych tematów sprzedać i pokazać wam, jak to kiedyś było, jak jest teraz i jak może być. I jak żyć ze z tych stoków wideo.
Dokładnie. Ja zacząłem od samego początku powstania.
I started from very outset of when the stocks were created. It was 2007. 15 years have passed. Where did you get the idea? How did it happen? Because it wasn't even fashionable then. How did it come to your mind? It was 2006, 2005, 2007. It was by chance. I got there and I thought about this, and I decided to enter this. I come from a small town, small city, Olsztyn, which does not have a film industry. So I felt an opportunity. I don't know how it was with you. I got to know you. As you say, you can earn money on this. I said, oh, it sounds crazy, but let's try. So initially, I must say that it was a bit like science fiction, because when we got to know each other, it was 2011, I think. You told me what you do, and it looked like the abstraction or utopia, because you do some movies, you upload them. They're professional, but you devote your time putting things on the internet, and after some time, you are paid in dollars. Initially, it was very difficult for me to believe that it's so easy, and it took me a few months to get my head around this and to start to do something myself. And of course, when I started to upload things, nothing sold. That's the key, that you have to be persistent. You have to be persistent in this intermediate person. When you enter some content, you have to wait for several months before you enter the browser, you position, and you start to sell. This is the most difficult part of the stocks. Initially, you have to be very persistent and do it persistently, not looking back, not looking at potential profits. I will be showing in the back some movies. I'll also talk to you, because it changed a bit, because 10-15 years ago the internet worked in a different way. The file transfer took a lot of time. There were less files too. Video content was much less. There was much less content. So the space in which we operated was much more close-knit. And some people think if you put in 10, 15, 50 movies, I will start to earn money. Well, and it's not like that. You have to work a lot of files initially so that it starts to work. A friend of mine put in like 100 files several years ago, and he waited a few months, and he decided nothing says, so I let it go. And he called me a week ago, excited, and says, Maciej, you won't believe that. This file with the gramophone, which I put on the lawn at once, it got sold. I got $13. So after I felt this excitement and this pride that it's real, because initially it feels a bit surreal. That how many files did you have? Would you put in there? How many did you sell initially? I don't remember. I do reports in the table. and I will show you that to you later. The difficulty with stocks is that we'll start with maybe the upsides of making stocks. You have a regular money in dollars, which with today's rate of exchange is a great thing, and independence, creative independence, time independence, independence of location. You can take your equipment and go to your holidays. You can move to a different place and do things. It is possible, and many stockers do things like that. So the fact that we are totally free of we have total freedom of creation. It's a bit limited. These are sort of semi-finished products which are then used by other artists. But you can allow yourself for everything and only correct things whether it's gonna work or not. It's a bit like artificial intelligence. Yes, for me the basics. Why did I start? For me, it was the need to be independent, so that nobody's standing over and looking over my shoulder. So, because I was really good at that, to photography, filming, and I was always looking for the good shots, and I was walking around with the camera everywhere, and this easiness of recording everything everywhere. It's the upside that you can go to your holidays and record material. There is some footage there, and then you will get a return on investment, and you start to earn. But it might also become a problem because I decided not to get anything more because I'm fed up with it, because holiday is holiday and work is work, and I'm just saying, okay, I'll just record something, but it still gets in your head, and the equipment got so expensive that I can you do not record with a phone. I started to record with a phone and it started to sell, because the high quality is not always the most important thing, but certain authenticity in those files, so that they keep their uniqueness. And quite often we can get unique things by having only a smartphone with you and not a huge camera which you have to set up and get the right lighting. So this easiness of operating improves the possibilities that we have. Maybe let's start with how should we start in general. Maybe can you tell more about what stocks are, because maybe not everybody knows that. Technically, it looks like that. You have a film which you put on stock, and it's put on the server of the company, and you, depending on in which threshold you are, if you sell exclusively for a given stock, you have a percentage from each file sold. So if a file, let's say it costs $100, because the prices are like this or even higher, the beginning artist, if you enter the stock and it's not exclusive, you have 20% max or 15% max. It's like no money at all. If you have exclusivity in the beginning and you want to be exclusive, then you start from 25%, and depending on how many files you sell a year, you get on the next level, and 45% is max. Yeah, it's just the opposite from the taxes. The more you earn, the more you earn. So these are the basics. Do you have any questions? Please ask them now. If something is not clear for you, raise your hand and we'll tell you. Which stock do you sell on? I'm exclusively in iStock. This is the first one that was created. It was the first film stock. From what I know, you sell everywhere. I'm in iStock and I've been there for a long time, but I got offended a bit. I sort of because after several years I didn't get a large uptick. There was some growth, but not enough. And 3 years ago I found an aggregator that gets 5 stocks at the same time, material from the 5 stocks. So you upload it to Blackbox. You put it to the servers on Blackbox. There's also a possibility of finding partners and sharing the profit through at the moment of sales. So if somebody helps to edit me or do color correction, etc., we agree to on their website, and when they put one file on Blackbox, it's duplicated in 5 stocks: Shutter, Adobe stock. Pound and 2 smaller ones. And that gives you theoretically a possibility of great time saving at the cost that they get 20% from the outset, from the basic amount. So saving time and abilities of creating this file is you can duplicate it into different places. So it works in two different spaces. And how do you find ideas for the sessions? Do you analyze the market or trends, or do you come up with it yourselves? It's like a trial and error. How do you find for those ideas for the sessions? Because you make sessions mainly. We work in a slightly different way. You make the majority of our studio sessions. Yes. This, for example, this movie is the session about dogs. So I came up with it. That was actually a good hit, that was bullseye, because it still sells very, very well. How does it work? I mean, what's your idea, Viha? What works? With the originality of the content. I mean, you have pets, dogs, you have plenty of them. But if you think about it in a different way, you give it a different context, you frame it differently, you position yourself very well. So you made like a wide angle, which sort of distorts a bit, and it is original, it is different. I also, when I create some movies or video clips, I'm not trying to do that. I'm not trying to see if somebody didn't do it, but because everything was filmed. But when I'm doing another thing I try to do it in a different way to improve my skill set. Use slow motion and the files. If they're original, when somebody's looking for slightly different content, because when you go browse through those websites, if you go through like 10,000, 20 identical shots, you have this slight chance that it will be bought. But if somebody like, if your idea is original, or if you add color in post-production, you get discerned. You stand out, and you're easier to find. In stocks also, there's like there's a way how to I mean, they don't say why some are better positions, some are less positions. Then, of course, but if something sells, it gets into a loop. That's my observation, that your files will be high if they sell well. There are plenty of good files that never sold even once. That's so it's a lottery of sorts. But if you put in a session, just like you have a bigger chance that it will show somewhere, because physically, usually when you have more of those files, or those 50 miniatures, they will take over the bigger part of the page. So if you have like 5-10 high quality files, somebody will say, okay, there's something interesting here, and will select from among your pictures. Yes. It is interesting. I asked how you do it, because you do sessions mostly. Yes, I have an idea. I organize people for that, and we realize that idea. So we put in 10 to 20 files in there, and we wait for it to sell. I can't see what's being put on the screen, but oh, the cheese factory, yes. Here's an example that, by the way, I mean, I had some other work. I immediately do recordings for stocks, and quite often it is so that the price for making some presentation, I earn less money for the order on the order than I earn on stocks where I put the additional footage which I made during the order. We have like everything. If the sort of collection of everything I did. Right now I have about 4,000 files like that, which is the base which works for me. Right now I can stop doing things right now, and it still works and it still sells. So sessions work better for you. I mean, it's different with me. I also do sessions. So far, I did it like this, that I try to take camera always with me and to record content with takes place around me. So I always have equipment with me, and I always record things which potentially could sell. So these are not always sessions, because sometimes these are one-time things. The image of something that's happening in the street, like building construction of a road, something that draws your attention. So the phone, that's why my phone is necessary. It doesn't always work. It's not so that it will sell, but this is how I work. I know that you mainly work in sessions, so you set up you put up a model, you get agreements, and you can sort of find your own path there. Many people also point out that for me, usually I need to have a character. Of course, everybody goes through the stage of nice, picturesque landscape, you know, the sunset or on the street. It's fun, but if you do it for 5-6 years, you're trying to look for something else. So that's when sessions appear. However, it is also very important to take care about the quality of the content. So do not go below. Of course, you can lower your quality, but it won't sell. So if you like to work a lot and do the same stuff and you will have no effects, you will get discouraged. So you have to increase your requirements. You have to increase your capabilities. The second thing is, I think that you have to have characters, faces, emotions shown, because this is something that is unrepeatable. If you have a character among you whom you can use in the good sense of this word, mom, grandfather, father, aunt, brother, because you can record him, because there's no other person with such an expression and such emotions, and if they're natural in it, and if it shows certain documentality that I want to talk about, not being natural, but let me finish that first. You have a great file, because there's no other person. We were not talking about AI yet. I will be talking about that soon. The second thing is, you know, many people thought about stocks that this is all artificial light and then a keyboard. I mean, it used to be like that, maybe because that's how people started, and now naturality is very liked. It doesn't have to be perfect aesthetically. It doesn't have to be clean. It just has to be natural. So if we're doing a session, I have this observation, then it has to have some realistic expression. This camera cannot be static. It can be slow motion. It can be flashy. I mean, you have to look for your own way and look for new means. It cannot be artificial because nobody looks for artificial things. So it cannot make things. Yeah, this is how I see it. Yes. Also, apart from the fact that you can also sell. Oh, there's a question. You can sell animations and 3D graphics very well. The renders are much are very popular. You have a lot of place for creation. Yes. I have two questions. The first question is concerns that what you said that you can employ to those roles your family. I wanted to ask you, what does it look like in terms of allowing the sort of giving consent to publish the image? Because if we're employing somebody to the session, then we, of course, if it's an actor or an actress, you have to pay them. But how do you construct a contract for agreeing to publish the image? Because if you put something in the internet, it stays in the internet. If somebody comes in 10 years time and says, get me out of the stock, he might be in the stock still. And how do you solve that the best? There are some ready contracts I will show you. Here is like a general contract that works for all stocks. The text is Polish. It's structured through the stocks, yeah. It's like a sample contract. This one is for the child. Apart from the fact that you have the name and surname, and the parent has to sign it. You can buy the application from a given stock, and you can fill that in your phone. It's just you have to make sure that this person gives their consent. Yeah. But what if such a person would like to, would like to sort of remove that? I mean, no, the contract is signed. So, but we had last year, Iga Białas has had a lecture here. She deals with the right, and she said that everybody has the right in Poland at any moment to repeal the oath, to take back the consent. Well, that's interesting because you sign a contract with an international company, with an American company. I wonder how it works. They have a different law. I don't know how it works there. At the end of the day, I know that at the end of the day, you can send the request to remove certain files. So it is theoretically possible if somebody withdraws consent, but it never happened to me. I must admit. If somebody, you watched it twice, you saw them before. If they really wanted, it is possible, but then you would have to it really requires a lot of effort for such a situation to arise. I mean, there are two possibilities. In the black box platform, it's so that you usually agree with such a person that you pay for a session a concrete amount, but it's also that the session does not sell. So this is our risk. So, however, in the black box, it's solved in a very interesting way, because then from the level of that platform, you can define how you share depending on the file. So if you have somebody supporting you in pre-production or post-production, so for example, it is quite often so that we have a full of material from our works. In order to select, color, export. This is how it works technically. First, you prepare the material. First, the initial color correction. Depending on the idea, you have put the same file on several times. If you have it in different moods, you describe it, the title, a short description, and keywords, and you put it on. but it is a bit of work. So in the black box platform, this file, depending on how you agree, you set the percentage. You can of course you have to have somebody whom you trust. It requires a lot of trust, but this is what I did so far. That I selected a lot of files myself. I colored them myself, and I had several people from all around the world who described those files for me. And depending on the yes, and depending on the file, they describe it to me, because the description is the most important thing, because if you have bad keywords, the film is good, the film does not earn money. Right now this content is selected through what you see on the image is transmuted, and you're immediately put in a given category, depending on what's in the image. So there are various opinions about that. In the black box platforms, you agree with the model that they get a percentage from every file. It's a win-win. He risks, you give them the material. You have I put this material somewhere on Facebook, on Instagram. They have very good, interesting raw material which they can use. Of course, the price is then depending on how we agree. Though no price, or just symbolic price, or just as material, or maybe how we agree. And that person has interesting footage which they can put on the social media, and they also can get some bonus if it sells and if it's good. Here I have here you can see how I started, how I earned, how much content I put every year. And you can see how it grew for me. On the first year, I earned almost no money at all. Then twice as much, or 3 times as much. Then again, twice as much, etc., etc. Yes, these are dollars. Okay, my second question would be, which came to my mind, the keywords. So I think you will not be able to answer that fully if you have people for that. But if we start out on our own, what should we put in? I don't know. I'm shooting a lady selling apples on the in the fair. Yeah, fair, apples, lady selling, sell, bio, echo. Yeah, haggling, bargaining. Yes, we're looking for the like 50 words, keywords which you can put in. As I know, it's good to remember that if you describe that title, you give it the title. You give the title. Let's apples on the in the city fair. Or city market. You say apple market fair, or these are the first words. They're very important. I believe that they can impact how it gets positions depending on the sequence of the words, because I quite often put in things which are similar, and from my perspective, this is something of better quality, because it's the same situation on the same day, and what's happening. I found some statistics here about keywords. These are potentially good keywords. I also have the statistics for niche keywords. Percentage at the bottom is the potential value. I don't know exactly, but I'm more interested in what in that these words are not noted here. Yeah, so these are the words which are not yet popular, but they will grow. So just to give you an example, war Ukraine. In the beginning of February, it looked much different from the beginning of March. This is the potential which grows. The same with different events which happen. So quite often this is what it looks like. So something that's not there, something that appears, it's good to have it beforehand. It's just like with the Christmas movies, it's better to put them in on in June and July rather than in December, because in December it's too late. Here are the bad keywords. The bad keywords are they do not sell well because there's a lot of content like this. It's a huge content. So the niche keywords was like little content and relatively high demand. Here is the opposite. Where do you get those statistics from? I don't know if you can tell you. I'm here. These are old statistics. I believe right now there might be some stocks, provide such statistics for the users, or maybe in Google Trends you have things like that at the end of the day. What potentially can be the topic for the future, and you can look for it there. An interesting topic, and it's technology. It never ends. It's a topic which never ends because it's developing, and there's a huge demand for this. So I can sell you an idea. Think that a senior person using a technology. There's a potential requirement for such content because the seniors are increasingly using technology, and increasingly it is accessible for them. And nobody did such content 10 years ago because nobody. But I mean, right now it's too late too because it's been already used. But also, some other equipment that the seniors are using could be very popular in search. Here I have a map of people, of countries where where there are best sales in terms of stock videos. As you can see, the darkest one is the United States, which buys 1/3 of the content. Great Britain, France, Japan, and the rest of the world. You have to remember that for them the price of purchase is very high. They pay in dollars, but for them $100 is like for us 100 zlotys. For us, this percentage, because where we are and because what the FX is very very significant. But I know that the United States buys the most. They already make it in NTSC format. I make it in NTSC format, 30 FPS, from the point of view of the United States buyer. In Poland, right now, 2% sales. I sometimes see my own movies used in commercials. But it's some small percentage. I don't know how much you sell a month. I sell about 200, 300 movies, and out of that, I know what was used, maybe about 1%. Because sometimes it's divided into countries. You have a paycheck which shows you how much was sold, how many files were sold, in what sort of sales, because there are different subscription sales, for example. So somebody gets registered on stock, pays some amount for getting 20 movies for which they get the discount, which is a problem for us because this discount applies to us too. It gets from which country, how much given file was downloaded, and from which country. and I do 90% in 30 FPS just because you can make 25 out of 30, but you can't make the 25 out of 30 out of 25, and a lot of slow motion, so somebody can speed it up or slow it down. That's a question. So you interpolate the material. You do not do additional material in 25. No, we do it from the outset. We change our cameras to work in NTSC or higher FPS. But for the European for a European market, we have PAL system. Do you interpolate it from 30 FPS? No, we're uploading 30 FPS, and the client can also reprocess it. It could be a problem beforehand right now, you know, if it's for internet, Facebook, and it's like you submit a file which is 1 minute of the clip, but usually it's used for 2 seconds only. So many people do not pay much attention, but potentially it's good to have it as in this and in 4K rather. However, if it's HD, also submitted, because what I submitted in HD a long time ago still sells. That's quite astonishing. I think the originality of the AJ is still key. Originality, niche ideas. Can I ask you one more question, because there was an issue of payment? How do you invoice that? How do you deal with the IRS? I started very early. I make my settlements annually. This is in the box, sale of copyright abroad. You have a box like that, and then I get 50% of acquisition costs so it's always, and it's also good from the tax perspective. That's what it looks like. I can show you the statistics here. These are the amounts you can get. I don't know how it works now, but there are files which are selected by them. They're higher quality, and the client paying more, or maybe you can pay for a file for exclusivity for some time, for a year, for example, and then nobody else can download it, but it's very expensive then. The prices that you get there is a huge discrepancy. There's a very wide range. The less you can get, like several cents, and up to several $100. So it varies a lot, depending how you sell it, to whom, on which license. Does it go to the PowerPoint presentation or to the global commercial? So this is even more fragmented. Where does it stem from? Because the subscriptions came, and this called the fragmentation of the prices, and unfortunately dampening of the prices. So it's a subscription model that somebody pays and has a number of files to download for much lower price, and we automatically get it for much lower price. So this file is like, he gets $100 for 25, so you can calculate that not much is left. in general, it is so. I've read recently that um, there's an article which shows that how many files were added to stocks, and in the last 3 years, there were so many files uploaded than during the last 10 years, the first 10 years. So it's I felt a bit depressed by that, but also there was there was a situation with lockdown, and people could not leave, and there were only stock files available, so that also had a huge impact. So that this market is very saturated. It's very saturated, and at this moment, as when I started, I got to do it a bit without thinking. It requires a lot of work and a lot of patience. You have to spend a lot of time for the first years to submit things, to upload things, to describe things. First, you have to have the some basic equipment. Even though you can also shoot with your mobile phone. Then you have to do the editing, color correction, upload. We in the past you uploaded for an hour or 2 hours, and then it could jam at the very end. Right now you sort of submit 100 files, they upload overnight. You have the model release, so it is a lot of work. It's like a full-time job, but if you're studying or you have time, you have camera, you have passion, then it's wow, that's great for me. If you have a talent and passion and patience, you can go this way. But it's a great satisfaction too. The first film you sell. I mean, it's like a friend called us 4 days ago. He was so happy that I thought that he won the lottery, but no, my file sold. He said, how many files did you upload? He said, like 50. Okay, not too much. And I still have a problem because I didn't log in. I didn't even remember the passwords, but he got the email. So it is a positive that you get real money for something that you've done. That's something for something that you came up with. It's extremely satisfying. Do you remember the first file that sold? Yes, of course I do. Which one was it? No, I don't remember right now. I remember the joy. I just remember the joy. I remember until now that it's like $22, and the shot I sold is like some blinks, a trick shot with Canon 5D. You rent the old Takumar to me. Handheld. The car was the driving car, and blinks of light through the trees. It still sells very well, HD. And I wouldn't even, I would today I would not even take that into processing, but the satisfaction is there, and it's also a possibility of cheating the system. If you like to be outside the system, there's a possibility of doing your thing and to earn a living, but there's the other side. Okay, tell me, because I just wanted to say about the positive aspects. I think it's a great beginning if you're graduating, or if you haven't graduated yet, you have no job. This is a great alternative to not to waste the time. You can do it at any moment and add the files and create and create. And here creation is always valued. It's still valued. The more original you are, the better they sell. If you copy what everybody does, then you die. And finding your niche is a very good thing. You can have access to some locations, people, factories where nobody has access to, and use that. That's right. You're your own navigator and your own captain. Nobody directs you. You're practicing your trade. You learn to film and you develop yourself. Then that of course requires a lot of stamina and a lot of grit. I've been doing that for the last 8 years. Sometimes it's very difficult to come up with something new, so you have to give yourself space to take a breather and to because you also were tired at some point. You got a bit you could go crazy sitting around alone and editing this material, but you can also meet interesting people, get into interesting cooperations because, well, let's say you have an interesting idea for a session. I have friends, maybe some smaller companies in your area, and you contact them and say, I've got a great deal for you. I make a film for free. Yeah, that's a very good idea. People quite often just don't want to pay for movies or presentations. You can just agree on for barter.
Barter, no barter po prostu. Ja bardzo często tak robię.
I use that very often.
No tak, oni mają dzięki temu materiał za darmo.
Thanks to that, they have free material. You have the material where you have this feeling that you feel that it's a good material. I mean, it's trial and error.
No to się czuje potem, co jest takiego ciekawego.
You feel it later. You see what sells well, because you have to analyze it from one month to another. What is popular? What is less popular? What is worth investing in? I am a bit bitter that I didn't do enough people. You know, a lot of nature, but not too many people. You know, drones, etc. Now, I mean, drones are everywhere in the market here, but humans, it's a great material. It doesn't have to be very professional, in my view, because the naturality is value. It's not like you can have, like, if you have a good idea for elderly ladies sitting on the chair in the armchair in green screen. Well, you can do that, of course. I mean, but it should be at home. It should be natural lighting. Then you have higher potential to sell things.
Oryginalność się liczy też. Ja na przykład często wymyślam jakieś patenty.
It's the original that counts. I come up with various tricks. I can show you some. Here, for example, I added microscope to the camera. Here, an old photo camera. Here I built a cover for underwater filming. So all the shots that you saw underwater, it was made with something like that. It was very simple. Here is the movie with the microscope, made with a microscope. Yeah, so you can toy around with things. It's very difficult to get bored because every session is a different challenge. You can make scientific sessions using some state-of-the-art technology, just like I did with Laowa lens or the macros. Yes, I'm following what's new is appearing on the market, and quite often I decide to buy this because I know I will get the return on this investment, even for after a few months. And what about the crowds? It's an interesting thing with the copyright. Here you don't see faces. It's a huge crowd, and there's no problem. For some time now, some stocks assume a crowd will accept crowds where faces are seen, but not one single one is underlined or there's no focus. This comes. I mean, this would work. I think I didn't even blur on the right hand side, and this is something which is accepted by the stocks. Here in this file, I erased every face. I because they did 30 years ago, and for a week I was erasing each of the faces, which still paid. Here I was filming 4 stocks, so as you can see, I didn't film the heads. Here is this is a staged session. This is a film from our trip around France. There are plenty of fights like this one, so this one doesn't sell. Technology is changing all the time. You have to update new upload new gadgets, but also emotions. Yeah, like symbols are interesting and they're good. This is not good. Well, I mean, he's pretty muscled. This is, well, average. This is old. Yeah, the good thing is also that it also gives you a certain option that it still might sell. Yes, even the old stuff. Yes, that's true. I mean, yes, this girl put this circle only once, and you can add new inscriptions. What's your bestseller? If you can tell us which film works best, that will got the most money for you. Strzelecki, what is your bestseller? If you could say something, are these people, and if you're talking about people, are they collections of shots, or is it one shot? What would you suggest? What they should be? What length should they be, so that somebody could build a context out of it, or is it enough to have one scene? What sells in practice? Okay, currently my best file is the growing plants. I once had 11,000. I think it's about 20-30,000 I earned on this file. 3 first files are the plants. Then water, the factory which I showed to you, the crowd, something like this too, sells very well too. The file was shown there. By chance, I recorded a friend who pretends that he's falling down. You know, some of those movies are tongue in cheek. They do not need to look professionally. It's sometimes that somebody was recorded in a stupid situation. So yes, that's true. This is also your imagination. Oh, I mean, I was coming up with also fancy concept art, but this guy is still sitting in the jar. But very often, it's the random fun things like gags are the practical jokes are also working very well. What are the main platforms to which you upload? I have iStock because I started there, and that was the first platform like this. And it pays for me to be there, that I don't upload anywhere else, only there. Then I have higher percentage and I'm better positioned. Maciej resigned from. No, I will never resign. Somebody resigned, and all these files, like this, almost disappeared. He went really low in search, but iStock was bought by Getty Image, and they're duplicated in Getty Image too. So Getty Image is the biggest platform in the world. If I were to advise a beginner right now, I would not. I would discourage them from getting on iStock. I would rather. Which one would you go to? Adobe Stock, Shutterstock. and iStock is the third place.
Decyduje się na taką drogę, można wrzucać wszędzie wtedy.
Mhm. And what about ArtGrid and things like that?
Nie znam ich.
Hmm.
Nie znam i podejrzewam, że w ogóle się tam nie sprzedaje.
I don't know. I don't think it really sells there. There are 3, 4 maybe that count. Adobe Stock, I think it's the first one now, the most lucrative, Shutterstock and iStock. ArtGrid is interesting because there was this model, subscription model. And I know that these sales, as we sell it every month, they had like a quarterly sales every half a year, and I know that they really strong about the quality, and that might be an idea. And right now these stocks have many files were not accepted due to technical reasons. So if something did not synchronize, because this is a problem when we do 30 FPS in Poland, then unfortunately there is some flickering, also problem with refreshing, and they didn't accept that once. You had to go around that, and right now it's difficult for them not to accept unless there are problems with the image, or we do not have the consent. Then yes. You asked me about my file. I must say that my most popular one is when my little son is sitting behind the wheel of a car and pretends to be driving. Him playing with the excavator, with the big excavator in the back. Some light blicks are also very popular. So the ones who are really quite unique, the blicks are unique, but how I made them, there is some climate there. It's like a magical light there, or maybe it just got high and stays high. But once some of your files get high enough, then they get sold non-stop. But I also made very good films that do not sell well, so it's a lottery. It's very difficult to say. It's also depends on when you start. If you started earlier, the files of those people are positioned a bit higher than those who started later. But nobody says that officially, because it's not about people stopping uploading. I would do Adobe Stock too, because Adobe Stock is like 3 years old. There was not there before that. Right now, on the Adobe subscription, you can, from the Premiere on after level, you can get these materials into timeline. It's made so easy. So I would go in this direction. I mean, I'm in there because Black Box duplicates on Adobe Stock. There was Vimeo Stock, I think. Okay, what else? Should we end? Do we have something? Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. I really recommend using stocks too.